Lieutenant Colonel Derensky is Vasily Grossman's hero of freedom in Life and Fate, the masterpiece he dedicated to the Battle of Stalingrad. Preparing the advance towards Stalingrad, Derensky, former prisoner in a gulag and now recalled to service, discusses politics with Lieutenant Colonel Bova at night. After years, this is a first dangerous, free discussion about politics. Free dialogue is an unavoidable human need and right. Derensky had the feeling that Bova had touched on something of great importance. He felt a sudden happiness. He was unaccustomed either to talking about his own deepest preoccupations or to hearing other people talk about theirs. To do this, to speak one's mind freely and without fear, to argue uninhibitedly and without fear, seemed a great joy. Everything felt different here, as he lay on the floor of this shack, talking to a simple soldier who had only just sobered up, sensing the invisible presence of thousands of men who had retreated from western Ukraine to this wilderness. Derensky knew that something had changed, something very simple and natural, something very necessary, and at the same time quite impossible, quite unthinkable, had come about. He and another man had talked freely and sincerely. "Yes," said Derensky, "but you've got one thing wrong. The bourgeoisie don't allow down-and-outs in the Senate, that's for sure. But if a down-and-out becomes a millionaire, then it's another story. The Fords started out as ordinary workers. We don't trust members of the bourgeoisie and aristocracy with positions of responsibility, and that's fair enough, but it's another matter altogether to stamp the mark of Cain on the forehead of an honest worker simply because his mother and father were kulaks or priests. That's not what I call a class viewpoint. Anyway, do you think I didn't meet workers from the Putilov factory or miners from Donetsk during my time in camp? They were there in their thousands. What's really terrifying is when you realise that bureaucracy isn't simply a growth on the body of the state. If it were only that, it could be cut off. No, bureaucracy is the very essence of the state. And in wartime, people don't want to die just for the sake of the head of some personnel department. Any flunky can stamp refused on some petition. Any flunky can kick some soldier's widow out of his office. But to kick out the Germans, you have to be strong. You have to be a man. "That's for sure," said Bova. "But don't think I feel any resentment," said Derensky. "No, I bow down and take off my hat. I'm happy. 1,000 thank yous. What's wrong is that we had to undergo such terrible tragedies before I could be happy, before I was allowed to devote my energies to my country. If that's the price of my happiness, I'd rather be without it." Derensky felt that he still hadn't dug down to what really mattered, that he still hadn't been able to find the simple words that would cast a new, clear light on their lives. But he was happy to have thought and talked about what he had only very seldom thought or talked about. Let me say one thing. I can tell you that whatever happens, I shall never ever regret this conversation of ours.